I drove home from the doctor with the weight of the world crushing my chest. Terminal cancer. 6 to 12 months to live. I needed Amanda, my wife, of 8 years more than ever. When I opened our bedroom door, time froze. There she was naked in our bed with Brian, my best friend since college. Their shocked faces burned into my memory as my diagnosis papers fell from my trembling hand. In one afternoon, I lost my future and my past. I stood there wondering which betrayal hurt worse. Before I tell you how I took back control in the most satisfying way, drop a comment telling me where you are watching from. Hit that subscribe button if you want more stories about justice served when you are dealt the worst hand in life. The morning started like any other Tuesday. I kissed Amanda goodbye as she pretended to be asleep, her blonde hair spread across the pillow we had picked out together when we moved into our suburban home 3 years ago. I had built a good life for us. After graduating from MIT with my computer science degree, I worked my way up at TechFront Solutions to become a senior software engineer. The job paid well and gave us the lifestyle Amanda always wanted. We met during our junior year of college. She was studying marketing, always the center of attention at every party, with her confident smile and infectious laugh. I was the quieter type, more comfortable behind my computer screen than in social situations. But somehow we clicked. She brought me out of my shell, and I gave her the stability she never had growing up. 8 years of marriage had its ups and downs, but I thought we were happy. I thought we were partners. The health problems started 3 months ago. Unexplained weight loss, persistent pain in my abdomen, fatigue that no amount of sleep could cure. Amanda seemed concerned at first, urging me to see a doctor. But as the appointments multiplied and the tests became more invasive, her patience wore thin. She stopped coming with me to the hospital, always having some work emergency or another commitment. That final morning, I drove alone to meet with Dr. Michaels, the oncologist who had been overseeing my case for the past month. The hospital corridors seemed longer than usual as I made my way to his office, already sensing what was coming. Dr. Michaels did not sugarcoat it. Stage 4. Pancreatic cancer. Metastasized to the liver. 6 to 12 months with treatment that might extend my life but not save it. I sat there 35 years old being told my life was effectively over. Dr. Michaels kept talking about options, clinical trials, making the most of the time I had left. I nodded, took the paperwork, and walked out in a daze. I needed Amanda. Despite her recent distance, she was still my wife, my partner, the person I had chosen to build a life with. I called her from the hospital parking lot, but it went straight to voicemail. Her meeting must have started early. I decided to drive home and wait for her there. I wanted to be in our space when I told her. The house was quiet when I arrived. Too quiet. Her car was in the driveway, which was strange. Her meeting should have been downtown. Maybe she was working from home today. I called out her name as I entered, but got no response. Then I heard it. A muffled laugh from upstairs, followed by the sound of our bedroom door. I climbed the stairs slowly, the diagnosis papers still clutched in my hand. When I opened the door, the world as I knew it ended for the second time that day. Amanda and Brian froze when they saw me. Brian, my best friend since freshman year of college. The man who had been my best man at our wedding. The friend who had recently been consoling me about my health worries over beers. There he was naked in my bed with my wife. Time seemed to stop as we all stared at each other. Amanda recovered first, clutching the sheet to her chest. "Jerome, you are supposed to be at the doctor," she said, as if I was the one who had done something wrong by coming home to my own house. The papers fell from my hand, scattering across the bedroom floor. Brian scrambled to find his clothes while avoiding eye contact. "How long?" was all I could manage to say. "Jerome, this is not what it looks like." Amanda started using the same voice she used when trying to sell a client on a marketing campaign. "Do not insult my intelligence on top of everything else." "How long?" Brian had pulled on his pants by now and was looking for an escape route. "Man, I am sorry. This just happened. It was a mistake." I laughed, a hollow sound that surprised even me. "A mistake? You accidentally fell into bed with my wife." In my house, Amanda was crying. Now tears, I would later learn, were more for herself than for me or our marriage. "Jerome, please. We can talk about this. I made a terrible mistake." I bent down and picked up the scattered papers. Funny timing for this mistake. Want to know where I was today? I held up the diagnosis. Terminal cancer. 6 to 12 months to live. I came home early to tell my loving wife that I am dying, and instead I find out our entire marriage has been a lie. Their faces changed from guilt to shock. Amanda went pale, her self-preservation instincts, immediately calculating what this meant for her. Brian looked like he might be sick, the coward. Jerome, I had no idea, Amanda whispered. Get out, I said to Brian. Get out of my house, before I forget that I do not have enough time left to waste it in jail for what I want to do to you right now. He grabbed his shirt and shoes and bolted past me without another word. The front door slammed seconds later. I looked at Amanda, this stranger wearing my wife's face. I am going to stay at a hotel tonight. When I come back tomorrow, we can discuss how we end this. Because we are done. I walked out, deaf to her calls and pleas. I checked into a hotel downtown, turned off my phone, and sat on the edge of the bed staring at the wall. Cancer was killing me from the inside. Amanda and Brian had killed everything else. I spent 3 days in that hotel room. 3 days of silence, broken only by room service deliveries. I barely touched, and the occasional call to the front desk to extend my stay. My phone remained off. I knew Amanda would be calling, texting, probably even showing up at my workplace looking for me. I was not ready to face her yet. On the 4th day, I turned my phone back on. The notifications flooded in. 27 missed calls from Amanda, 15 from Brian, dozens of texts. A few calls from my sister Lauren and other friends who must have heard something was wrong. I called Lauren first. She answered immediately. Jerome. Where have you been? I have been worried sick. Amanda called saying you disappeared after some kind of fight. Is that what she called it? My voice sounded strange, hollow. Did she mention she was sleeping with Brian when I found them, or that I had just been diagnosed with terminal cancer? The silence on the other end was profound. Then came Lauren's sharp intake of breath. Oh my God, Jerome. Both on the same day. Are you okay? Where are you? I gave her my hotel information, and within an hour she was at my door with food. I still could not eat, and a shoulder to cry on that I desperately needed. Lauren, my little sister, by 4 years, always the fierce one. She held me as I finally broke down the dual betrayals too much to contain any longer. You need a lawyer, she said after I had calmed down, and you need to see another doctor for a second opinion. But first you need to protect yourself from Amanda. If she is capable of this, who knows what else she might do. Lauren was right. I had been so consumed by grief that I had not thought about the practical implications. With my diagnosis, every day mattered now. I could not waste them on a drawn-out emotional war with Amanda. I needed to be strategic. The next morning, I met with a divorce attorney Lauren recommended. As I laid out my situation, I saw the pity in his eyes transition to cold determination. With your diagnosis, we need to move quickly to protect your assets and ensure any settlement is fair. And with the infidelity as a factor, we have significant leverage, he explained. I recommend you start gathering evidence immediately. Evidence. The word triggered something in me. I had been a victim twice over, but I was still a software engineer by training. I thought methodically solved problems, found patterns in chaos. I could apply those same skills here. I left the attorney's office with a plan forming. I would not just survive this betrayal. I would ensure that Amanda and Brian faced consequences for what they had done. My first stop was our joint bank accounts. What I found shocked even my newly cynical mind. Regular transfers from our joint savings to an account I did not recognize dating back nearly 2 years. Small enough that I had not noticed them individually, but adding up to nearly $50,000. My money siphoned away by the woman who had vowed to stand by me in sickness and in health. Next, I recovered deleted texts and emails from our shared cloud storage. Amanda had been careless, thinking I would never look. The affair with Brian had been going on for 3 years, nearly half our marriage. There were hotel receipts, intimate messages, and worst of all, plans for their future together. The final blow came when I found recent texts from Amanda to her friend Tara complaining about my illness even before we knew it was cancer. His health problems are so inconvenient right now. Brian and I were planning to tell him after the holidays, but now, with all these doctor visits, I feel trapped. My hands shook with rage as I read those words. My illness, my literal death sentence, was an inconvenience to her timeline for leaving me for my best friend. I took all this evidence and met with Jessica Bryan's wife. She was a kindergarten teacher with a kind face that crumpled in disbelief as I gently laid out what I had discovered. I showed her the hotel receipts, the messages, the timeline of betrayal that implicated both our spouses. 3 years, she whispered, her hands trembling as she looked through the evidence. We just had our second child last year. My heart broke for her all over again. Brian had not just betrayed me, but had brought a child into the world while actively cheating on its mother. I am so sorry, Jessica. You deserve better than this. We both do. I explained my terminal diagnosis and my limited timeline. I do not have the luxury of a drawn-out divorce or a lengthy recovery. I am going to make sure they face consequences, and I wanted you to have all the information so you can make your own choices. Jessica wiped her tears and straightened her shoulders. Thank you for telling me, Jerome. What are you planning to do? I shared my strategy with her, and to my surprise, this soft-spoken kindergarten teacher's eyes hardened with resolve. Count me in, she said. They deserve everything that is coming to them. With Jessica as an unexpected ally, I expanded my network. I contacted mutual friends who had suspected something but never had proof. I reached out to colleagues who could help ensure Brian's professional reputation would reflect his true character. I documented everything meticulously, building a case, not just for divorce court but for the court of public opinion. All the while, I maintained an eerie calm. Amanda's increasingly desperate calls went unanswered except for brief factual exchanges about when I would collect my things. She vacillated between tearful apologies and angry accusations that I was being cruel by not giving her a chance to explain. As if there could be an explanation for 3 years of lies, theft, and betrayal while I was facing my own mortality. What Amanda failed to understand was that her betrayal had freed me in a strange way. With nothing left to lose and limited time to live, I could focus entirely on ensuring justice was served. I was no longer bound by fears of confrontation or concerns about rocking the boat. The boat had already capsized, and I was simply ensuring everyone got what they deserved as we all went down. 2 weeks after discovering the affair, I filed for divorce, citing infidelity and financial fraud. My attorney moved swiftly, freezing our joint accounts and submitting the mountain of evidence I had compiled. Amanda was blindsided. She had expected tears, recriminations, perhaps even forgiveness. She had not expected calculated strategic action. You cannot just cut me off financially like this, she screamed during our first mediation session. I have bills to pay. This house was supposed to be mine, too. Interesting that you mention the house, my attorney interjected smoothly. Given that Miss Adams has been transferring marital assets to a hidden account for the purpose of establishing a new life with Mr. Taylor, we are countersuing for financial fraud and requesting the entire property be awarded to my client. Amanda's face drained of color. She had not realized I had found the secret account. Her attorney requested a break, and I watched with grim satisfaction as they huddled in the corner, her gestures becoming increasingly frantic as her lawyer doubtlessly explained how bad her position was. While the legal battle advanced, I executed the social component of my plan. I had been selective in who I told about the affair, initially wanting to gather allies before Amanda could spin her version of events. Now, with my evidence compiled and Jessica fully on board, we made our move. I created a simple document with timestamps, photos of hotel receipts, screenshots of text messages, and bank statements showing the financial deception. Nothing exaggerated, just the cold, hard facts. Then Jessica and I each sent it to our closest friends and family members with a brief factual explanation. The response was swift and overwhelming. Amanda and Brian had maintained their public image as devoted spouses while conducting their affair. Now that carefully crafted facade crumbled overnight. Friends who had dined with us, celebrated holidays alongside us, and consoled Amanda over my health concerns were disgusted to learn the truth. Amanda's phone blew up with former friends demanding explanations. Her parents, who had always treated me like a son, were devastated by her betrayal, especially in the face of my diagnosis. Brian faced similar social exile, with longtime friends blocking him and canceling plans. On the professional front, Jessica dealt Brian a fatal blow. As his wife, she was aware of workplace misconduct he had covered up years ago, an inappropriate relationship with an intern that his company had hushed up to avoid scandal. Now, with nothing to lose, Jessica reported it to the board of directors with supporting evidence. Within a week, Brian was unemployed, his reputation in tatters. Amanda's professional life suffered collateral damage. We shared many industry connections, and while I never directly interfered with her job, word spread quickly about her character. Clients who had personal relationships with me quietly took their business elsewhere. Her promotion, which she had been angling for all year, suddenly went to someone else. The most satisfying development came when our divorce proceedings uncovered that the down payment for our dream home had come primarily from my inheritance after my father passed. Combined with the evidence of financial fraud, the judge ruled that the house was predominantly my asset. I immediately put it on the market, forcing Amanda to find new accommodation on her rapidly diminishing income. "You cannot do this to me," Amanda sobbed when she received the eviction notice. "Where am I supposed to go? All my friends hate me because of your smear campaign." "It was not a smear campaign. It was the truth, documented and verified," I replied calmly. "As for where to go, perhaps Brian can help you." "Oh, wait, he cannot afford to anymore, can he?" Strange how actions have consequences. Throughout this process, I continued my cancer treatments. The aggressive chemotherapy was brutal, but a strange thing happened. As Amanda and Brian's lives unraveled, my focus on justice gave me a reason to keep fighting the cancer. Each day I survived was another day to see the consequences of their betrayal unfold. My oncologist remarked on my unusual resilience, noting that patients with purpose often outlived their prognoses. 3 months after Discovery Day, the divorce was finalized on terms overwhelmingly in my favor. Amanda walked away with little more than her personal belongings and the clothes on her back. Brian, now unemployed, and also divorced by Jessica, had moved back in with his parents at age 36, his reputation in our industry destroyed. I watched from a distance as Amanda tried to rebuild. She posted tearful apologies on social media that were met with cold silence or outright derision. She attempted to paint herself as remorseful as the victim of a momentary lapse in judgment rather than a 3-year calculated deception. No one was buying it. Eventually, she took a lower-paying job in another state, slinking away from the community that had once embraced her. Brian, I heard, was delivering groceries while living in his parents' basement, his career in technology effectively over. And me, I focused on living whatever time I had left on my own terms. Free from Amanda's betrayal and Brian's false friendship, I rediscovered parts of myself I had neglected during my marriage. I traveled to places I had always wanted to see, reconnected with old friends, and made new ones who knew and accepted my diagnosis without pity. A year after my diagnosis, something unexpected happened. The experimental treatment I had been selected for showed remarkable results. My tumors had shrunk significantly. Dr. Michaels was cautious but optimistic. "This is not a cure, Jerome," he warned, "but we are seeing promising results that could extend your timeline considerably, possibly years rather than months." The news should have been purely joyful, but it came with complex emotions. I had made peace with my death sentence and used it to fuel my pursuit of justice. Now I might have to learn how to live again, not just survive. During this time, I channeled my technical skills and newfound purpose into creating a foundation to support others facing betrayal during health crises. It was surprisingly common, I learned, for spouses to cheat when their partners received serious diagnoses. My foundation provided legal advice, financial planning, and emotional support for these doubly victimized individuals. The foundation work gave me purpose beyond revenge. It turned my personal tragedy into something that helped others, something lasting. Every person we helped was a testament to the fact that betrayal did not have to be the end of someone's story. It was through this work that I met Alicia, a volunteer lawyer who specialized in divorce cases involving medical hardship. Smart, compassionate, and direct, she viewed my story not with pity but with respect for how I had handled it. We became friends first, our relationship growing organically without the pressure of my shortened timeline hanging over us. Then, 15 months after Discovery Day, Amanda reappeared in my life. She had heard through mutual connections about my improved prognosis and the success of my foundation. She reached out by email asking to meet. Against the advice of friends, I agreed to see her at a neutral coffee shop. She looked different, humbled perhaps, the polished marketing executive exterior replaced by someone more subdued. She had lost weight, and her once perfectly maintained hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. "Thank you for meeting me, Jerome," she said, her voice lacking its former confidence. "You look good. I heard your treatment is working. It is buying me time," I answered simply. "Why did you want to see me, Amanda?" She took a deep breath. "I have been in therapy, a lot of therapy, and I needed to tell you in person how sorry I am for everything. What I did was unforgivable, especially when you needed me most." I studied her face, searching for the manipulation I had become accustomed to, but all I saw was exhaustion and what appeared to be genuine regret. "Where is Brian now?" I asked. "I have no idea. We fell apart shortly after you exposed everything. Turns out he was not interested in being with me once I lost everything." She laughed bitterly. "Karma, I guess." I nodded, unsurprised. Their relationship had been built on lies and selfishness from the start. It was never going to withstand actual hardship. "I heard about your foundation," Amanda continued. "It is amazing what you are doing for others. Even after everything, you found a way to create something positive." "I did not do it to be positive. I did it because it needed to be done. Too many people suffer in silence when hit with both betrayal and illness." She nodded, tears forming. "I know it means nothing, but I am proud of you, and so sorry for the pain I caused." I looked at her for a long moment. The anger that had fueled me for so long had burned down to embers. What remained was not forgiveness exactly, but something like indifference. Amanda no longer had the power to hurt me. "I forgive you, Amanda," I said finally. "Not for you, but for me. I do not have enough life left to waste it on hatred." Her tears fell freely now. "Thank you. I do not deserve it, but thank you. This does not mean we will ever reconcile or even be friends," I clarified. "But I release you from my anger. What you do with that is your business." I stood up ready to leave when she asked, "Are you happy, Jerome? Have you found peace?" I thought about my foundation, about Alicia, about the unexpected gift of extended time. "I am getting there," I answered honestly. "I have found purpose, which is more valuable than happiness." As I walked away, I felt the last chains of my past falling away. Amanda and Brian had taken so much from me, but in the end, they had failed to take what mattered most: my integrity, my resilience, and now my future. Looking back now, 2 years after that fateful day, when I received two life-shattering pieces of news, I can honestly say that losing everything was the beginning of finding myself. My cancer is still with me, but so am I outliving every projection Dr. Michaels initially gave me. The experimental treatment continues to keep the disease at bay, giving me precious time I never expected to have. The divorce settlement allowed me to establish my foundation on solid financial footing. We now help hundreds of people each year navigate the complex intersection of serious illness and relationship betrayal. I have spoken at conferences, been featured in articles, and watched as laws have begun to change to better protect vulnerable patients from financial exploitation by spouses. Amanda, I hear, has slowly rebuilt some semblance of a life in her new city. We have no contact, and that is for the best. Brian apparently tried to reconnect with Jessica and their children, but she had moved on stronger and more independent than before. Last I heard, he was still struggling professionally and personally, the consequences of his choices following him like shadows. As for me, my relationship with Alicia evolved naturally from friendship to something deeper. She understands that our time together might be limited, but as she often says, all relationships have an expiration date. Some just have the date printed more clearly on the package. Her pragmatism and warmth have been unexpected gifts in this second chance at life. The most profound change, though, has been internal. I no longer measure success by career achievements or material possessions. I measure it by integrity, by the positive impact I can have in the time I have left, by the authentic connections I form with others. The betrayal that once threatened to destroy me ultimately forced me to rebuild myself stronger, wiser, and more aligned with my true values. The cancer that promised to end my life prematurely gave me the clarity to live it more fully. There is power in having nothing left to lose, in facing your worst fears, and finding yourself still standing on the other side. If there is one lesson I would share from my journey, it is this: true justice, is not about destruction, though Amanda and Brian certainly faced the consequences of their actions. True justice is about reclaiming your power, your agency, your right to define your own life, even when circumstances beyond your control threaten to define it for you. Have you ever faced betrayal from someone you trusted completely? How did you rebuild afterward? Share your story in the comments below. If this journey resonated with you, please hit subscribe and the notification bell so you never miss another video. And if you know someone who might need to hear that they can survive their darkest hour, share this video with them. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember, sometimes losing everything is the beginning of finding what truly matters.